Okay. Can you please share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, can you please write a program to group a list of strings based on their lengths and count the number of strings in each group? Go to the chat and copy the question from there.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm generating one test class so that I can copy the question over there.
Mhm.
Okay, so right around the group a list of strings in length. So this is our input and we are expecting this as the output. So
Yeah, in this array we have four strings which length is 3, right? So we have dog, cat, fox, and all. So they have the length as 3, right? So that is why we have the number here 3 and here the number is 4. Similarly, zebra is of 5 characters, okay? And there is only one word which is of 5 characters. So that is why we have 1 and so on. Got it?
yeah, let me take this array list. Okay, so this is our list of strings and let me gather it to the, so these are our strings. Now I will write a map to store the length and count, and then we can loop through. So here let's take the map of integer group by length. Okay, now I can just loop through and store each element to map, and if it is 0, in that case, I mean if the item is not there into the map, in that case, okay, let me write the code first. So we will take each element and then inside this map we can add each item. So first of all we will find out the length of each string. So so this will give us the length of each string. I will take the length of that, and then so this is the key and the value I have to put. So this is the value I have to put. We have to keep on updating. So first time the default will be 0, right? and each time we have to update when we are going to get the same length item. Okay, so here we can say group by length dot get or default 0 plus 1. Okay, so this value will be basically uh, we will be getting the this length item. I mean, we will be finding this key inside this map, and if it is able to find, in that case it will add plus 1 in that, and if it is not able to find that, in that case it will simply add 0 to that. So this is how this logic is. Okay, now we can simply iterate this result map dot
Mhm.
entry keys teaser, and this is also in teaser. Then we have to iterate this entry set. So each entry we can print this in desired format.
Mhm.
So we can print the key here, because key is the one which gives the length of this whatever entry we have. So entry dot get key, say colon, and then what we have to say, so the number of items. So we can just say entry dot get value, entry dot get value. Okay, and here we'll have to use this plus. Yeah, so we can run it. Yeah, so
Okay,
we have a
okay,
string.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, what is the latest version of Java you have worked on? I have worked till Java 17.
Okay, so this same code can you write in Java 8?
Java 8.
Yes.
Mm, yeah, we can write it. For Java 8, again, this will be as it is, and then we can just simply string dot stream, and then we can, so basically we will have to group by this. So for that we will have to first of all collect, then collectors dot grouping by. Okay, now we will have to get the length of string dot. Okay, we can use referencing length collectors dot counting. We have this will give, so this will give us the uh, map of, I think, map of both. So this length and the counting. Yeah. So this will directly give us the this group by length thing. I will say one here so that we don't have the duplication of variables. Okay. So now we can simply again print this. So for that again we can use for each and length and count. Okay, so this will be input for this, and now we want to use this length and count, so we can simply basically copy this. Okay, and this length can keep here. Okay, and count we can keep here. I think one bracket has been missed. So yeah, this is how we can achieve using Java 8.
Okay, can you run this as well?
Yeah. So yeah, from here onwards, we have the output for Java 8.
Okay, so here, why you have used the double colon? The string double colon length is there, right? So why you have used double colon here?
Yeah, double colon is method referencing. So that we use in order to get the length of a string. So for that we are using this. Yeah.
So any other way of doing this? Suppose I don't want to use method referencing.
Yeah, we can use traditional way of using lambda expression. We can use lambda expression. So this is kind of, you can say, shorthand for lambda expression.
Okay, can you do that?
Yeah, yeah. So for that, so we can take input. So as s and s dot length. So yeah, I think this is equivalent to what we had done with method referencing. So let me run it. Yeah, so this is how we can do it.
Okay, okay. Okay, so what is the difference between find first and find any in Java 8?
Yeah, so find first and find any, both we can say as the terminal operations in Java streams, and basically we used them to fetch an element from a stream. So the main difference is like find first guarantees that it will return the first element of the stream based on the stream encounter the order. For example, if we are working with list or another ordered collection like array, uh, then find first will always pick the very first element. Okay, provided the stream is not empty. Okay, but find any on the other hand does not have this restriction. It allows the stream to pick any element, and it's particularly optimized for kind of parallel streams. So whenever we have the scenario of using parallel streams, then we can use find any. So yeah, so in those cases we can use find any, Otherwise, find first is like kind of guarantee that it will pick the find the first element only.
Okay, okay. Okay, what is the difference between map and flat map?
Yeah, both map and flat map are intermediate operations in Stream API, and they are used for transforming the data. So map is used when we want to take each element of the string and transform it into another value. So it is like it works for one-to-one mapping. So that means that every input element we will get exactly one output element. But flat map on the other hand is used when each element of the stream might produce multiple elements. So it is like kind of one to many mapping. So for example, in flat maps, let's say we have uh, the list of, let's say, words. Okay, let's say we have words with separated with spaces, right? So suppose if you want to uh, display each and every word, right? So in that case, we will have to use the flat map. Okay, so that is the use of that.
Okay, can you explain bit more the scenario when I should use flat map?
Yeah, as I said, like for example, let's say we have any array list. So let's say we take this only, and suppose we had a kind of scenario when this was also the part of maybe this string. It was something like this. Okay, and let's say this zebra also, if we keep here. Okay, yeah, and now suppose if we want to just get each and every word, right? We want to print each and every word, right? So in this case, we will use flat map instead of map.
Okay, so what is zit compiler?
Uh, JIT compiler, right?
Yes.
Yeah, JIT compiler is stands for just-in-time compiler, and it is used for the for the compilation of the Java code internally by JVM, and it is like used for the mostly for the optimization and increasing the performance of the Java programs. So whenever we write the Java code and compile it, so it gets converted into bytecode. So that bytecode is basically platform independent, and that is executed by the JVM. But JIT compiler will be there. So instead of like interpreting each line of bytecode every time the program runs, the JIT compiler takes care of compiling the bytecode into the native machine code at runtime. So just before the code is executed. So rather like relying on the interpretation, the JVM compile frequently executed methods into machine code. So like suppose uh, whenever the repetitive methods are there, right, and they are being compiled again and again, so JIT compiler will keep that like optimize that, and since it has been already compiled, so there is no need to recompile it, right? So that recompiled part will be added to the bytecode. So that is how it basically optimize the
Okay,
uh,
so what is permgen and metaspace?
yeah, that is related to the memory management. So metaspace is like that has been introduced in Java 8. So that is a new feature which has been introduced in Java 8. So yeah, so that is the main difference between them.
Okay, so what is metaspace advantage?
So the major advantage of metaspace is like uh, it is like the memory it can take is up to the size of the system memory, like wherever that Java has been installed. But in case of the PermGen, it was limited to some number, some fixed maximum number. Okay, so now in case of metaspace, it is not limited to the size by a fixed maximum. Instead, the metaspace size is like constant by the available system memory. So it can use up to the complete available system memory. So the chances of crashing and all has been like reduced compared to what earlier we used to face the issue in case of high memory uses. So yeah,
Okay. Okay, so any differences there between metaspace and heap memory that affects both performance and memory management in JVM?
yeah, heap memory is where all the objects like instances of classes are stored during the runtime of the Java program. So this memory is managed by the JVM garbage collector, and it's a managed area where the objects are created and garbage collected. And metaspace stores like class metadata such as a structure and information about the classes, methods, and static variables. So it is used for storing things like bytecode of loaded classes, the runtime representation of those classes, and any associated resources that the JVM needs to be execute the code. So in case of metaspace, unlike heap memory, metaspace is not part of JVM heap basically. So it's actually allocated from the native memory. Okay. So basically, this uh, allows for more flexibility and it reduces the overhead on the heap. So yeah, so that is how these two are different.
Okay, so you know exception handling, right?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so how many ways you can handle the exception?
Yeah, we can handle the exception multiple ways. Like we can use try catch, uh, we can use throw statement.
Okay, any other way you can handle the exception?
Yeah, we can use like throws keyword we can use, and we can also do custom exception handling. So we can write the custom exception and we can handle that. And then also in Spring Boot, so in Spring Boot we can use at the rate of exception handler annotation for the handle the exception globally. So and then again for that we have at the rate of controller advice is there. So yeah, so these are the ways we can handle the exception.
Okay, so how many types of exceptions are there in throwable class?
Yeah, we have a checked and unchecked exception.
No, throwable has exception and errors.
Yeah, sorry. So throwable has exception and errors, and again exception has checked and unchecked exceptions. Yeah.
Okay, so can we fix the errors?
No, no, errors we cannot fix. So errors are like kind of unwanted situation, or we can say the situation which we cannot stop. So yeah, so those are errors. So we cannot overcome of this. So for example, we have out of memory error or a stack overflow error. We have to like increase the memory and again we have to start. So then only we can get rid of that.
Okay. Okay, so how do you write checked exception code?
Checked exception code we have IU exception, SQL exception, right? So those are checked exception, and normally uh, checked exception like that is supposed to be anticipated by the programmer who are writing the code, and usually the ID and all they suggest already like. If we have missed writing it, so it will suggest us to like handle the exception for that, and we can handle it, right? So suppose we are doing any file reading and all, so IU exception it will automatically suggest that we have to handle that. Okay, so as soon as we click on that, then it will automatically write in the catch block, maybe with the IU exception, and we can handle there.
Okay, what is the purpose of transient keyword?
A transient keyword is used to indicate that a particular field should not be serialized. So, for example, whenever we write the bean classes, let's say we have a employee class and that has name, salary, and all. So, if we make any field as transient, then that won't be serialized. Okay, so it's basically its value will be excluded from the serialization process. So that's the purpose of it.
And what is the difference between string builder and string buffer?
Yeah, string builder and string buffer, like we use both in case of uh, mutable strings. So the main difference is that string buffer is synchronized and string builder is not synchronized. So since a string builder is not synchronized, so it is not thread safe, and that is why it is much faster, whereas string buffer is like thread safe and it is slower compared to the string builder.
So in Spring Boot, how do you handle validation while making the REST API calls? So how do you handle it?
Validation, so whenever we make the REST API call, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so for that we can uh, go to the DTO class, and suppose we are making any REST API call, and let's say any field we want that to be mandatory. Okay, so for example, let's say any email is coming, okay, in the call, and that email ID we want that field to be mandatory. So for that, what we can do that we can go to the corresponding DTO class, and there wherever we have email field, so on top of that we can just give at not null we can give there, and message we can give like email is mandatory, or uh, even we can validate the email also, like at the rate and all is there or not. So we can give email annotation as well, and that validates the email. So those things we can do, and then further after that in the controller layer we can just add at the rate of valid uh, before the whatever the DTO is coming as a input. So there we can give, so whenever in that DTO that email field will be blank, so in that case it will send, or it will throw the error to the user, like the email is blank or something like that. So that way we can do.
Okay. Now suppose we have a scenario when we are expecting some numbers, okay, and we're expecting only alphanumeric numbers, right? So how you can validate that one?
So basically, we want some custom validation, right?
Yeah, you can think that way.
Yeah, so for that, one way is that we can write the custom annotation basically, and so there is a way. I have seen that in the code, but I have not written on my own. But we can write the custom validation and like at the rate of interface, something like that. We write custom validation, and there we can give the default whatever the message we want, so that we can give there, and uh, we can use that custom validator annotation further. So it I think underlying to that, it overrides method is valid or something like that, and there we can write our validation logic, and whatever the logic will be there, as per that validation will happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So in your Spring Boot application, what are the status codes mostly you have worked on?
Status codes, mostly we have like hundreds, 200s, 300s, 400s, and 500s. But more of that I have used like 200. That is for the whenever any request is successful, then we use 200. We also use 201 very frequently. So whenever we are creating some resource, okay, so at that point of time we send the response as 201, okay, and after that we use mostly I think 400s. So like 400 bad request is there. So whenever the server cannot process the request due to client error, so at that time we give 400. Also 401 we also use very often for unauthorized access. So like whenever any user is trying to use it without authentication, so at that point of time 401 is sent, and then also 404 we see most often that is not found, and then we have 500. So in the catch block mostly we send 500s like internal server error. So that is like kind of generic error. Whenever any error happens at the server side, so we send 500. So these are the mostly like we use.
Okay. So what is API gateway?
uh, an API gateway is like we can say a central entry point for all APIs in the system. So whenever any request is made to the microservices, so this is the first layer where the request comes. So in a microservice architecture, there are many small independent service, right? And if every client has to interact with each service directly, so like it becomes very complex to manage, right? So at that point of time, this API gateway comes into picture, which holds all this responsibility. So this API gateway basically helps us to solve this by sitting between the client and the backend services. So it handles tasks like request routing and authentication and rate limiting and all. So for example, if a client sends a request that need data from multiple services, the API gateway can aggregate the response from all the services and send the single response back to client. So client does not need to send the request to different microservices for that. So it is only responsible to send the request to the single point of contact. Okay, so it's also like useful for enforcing security policies, right? So all the authentication authorization happens here. So basically these are the mostly the things uh, like uh, which API gateway handles.
Okay. So what is transaction and how do you handle this distributed transaction in microservices?
Yeah, so transaction, like in general, we can say, like for example, suppose in the banking system, if I am transferring money from my account to someone else's account, so the system ensures that the either both the debit and credit operation success or either both fails. So this is like kind of we use for the consistency between the application. So like this is we say this is a part of one transaction. Okay. So in case of monolithic application, this is kind of very much straightforward because everything is happening within the same application. There is a single database and everything is happening over there. But in case of microservices, we kind of since we have the various microservices need to communicate with each other to complete the one whole transaction, right? So we use the like kind of saga design patterns. Okay, for example, so a saga design pattern is a sequence of local transactions. So each service performs its part and then publishes an event to notify the next service. Okay, so this is kind of a chain system. So if something goes wrong, so there are compensating transactions to undo the previous operation. Okay, we can always track, okay, that if something goes wrong, then that can be fixed. So for example, if an e-commerce system, if a payment succeeds but inventory update fails, okay, so a compensating transaction could be the refund of payment. Okay, even though the first one has failed, so based on that failure we have some different system which is being used to compensate that, right? So there are two ways in saga design pattern. One is choreography and one is orchestration. So like choreography is like each service listens for events and decides what to do next, and orchestration is kind of a central coordinator that manages the flow of transaction. Mostly we use this, and also in addition to saga pattern, so we have some tools like Kafka, RabbitMQ, so that can help with event-driven communication, and frameworks like Spring Cloud, Dataflow for implementing distributed transaction in microservices. So yeah, so these are the things which we can use.
So, in Spring Boot, what is at the rate of conditional annotation?
Add conditional. Yeah, so add conditional annotation in Spring Boot is used to conditionally register beans in the Spring container based on some specific condition. So we put some condition whenever we are using add conditional. For example, uh, we can give some class name or something with that. So let's say we want to register a bean only if a certain property is defined in the application properties. So instead of doing the code kind of if else checks, we can use add conditional to handle it like more systematic and clean way. So under the hood, add conditional basically relies on the condition class that implements the condition interface. So this class contains the logic to decide whether the bean should be loaded or not. So during application startup, Spring evaluates this condition, and based on the result, the bean is either included or ignored. So that is how add conditional is used.
Can you explain how can you reduce the startup time of Spring Boot application? Is it possible to do that?
We want to reduce the startup time. Yeah, we can do that because Spring Boot by default loads lots of configuration. I mean the pre-added configuration. So if we want, we can do like we can exclude unnecessary auto configurations. Okay, so we can give the place where we have add the rate of Spring Boot application. So there we can give exclude, and there we can give whatever the configuration class we want to exclude. suppose that is not required in our project. Okay, so that is one way. We can also do lazy initialization. Okay, so by default Spring Boot initializes all bins during a startup, so that might be the time consuming. So we can enable lazy initialization. So basically that means that beans are created only when they are needed. So we can go that we can go into the application dot properties, and there we can give the lazy initialization true. So that is the another thing. And then we can also like kind of reduce class path scanning. Okay, so we have added a component scan, right? So there uh, we can limit this to scan only some certain packages. Again, that is there. Also, suppose we have multiple loggings are added, suppose by the developer, so we can ask them to keep the minimal loggings and keep only to the like whatever is required. Yeah, so these are the things we can do. Yeah.
Okay, suppose you are making a call to the database through Spring Boot, okay, and it is taking kind of some time, okay, and you want to reduce that time. So, what are the steps you will take to reduce that query time?
For that we can take few steps. Like first thing is that we will see if we are querying any select query, and suppose we are frequently querying on a specific column or something like that. So in that case, we will uh, see whether the indexing has been done or not on that column, because mostly we are querying on that specific column. So that is one thing. And then um, we can use pagination. Okay, so like we will not take the whole data at once and give it to the caller, and instead we can show that like page by page, like 10 items at a time or 20 items at a time. So that is another way to reduce the time. And then we can also use caching. Okay, so we can use caching mechanism like Spring Cache or distributed cache like Redis and all. So that caches suppose whenever the we are trying to fetch the same data again and again, then we can cache that, and instead of making the actual call to the database, we can return that the cached memory. Okay, so um, those are few things. And also like sometimes we can write the native query instead of JPQL. So there might be some cases when a native query can perform a better way. So like a complex join or aggregate functions that might be more efficient. So that is also one thing. So yeah, so these are the steps we can follow.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. So, suppose you have an employee table, okay, and I want you to write a query to find out the salaries from the bottom three. You know, suppose we have the salaries like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, right? So I want only these three, first three, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Okay. So can you write the query for that?
Okay, so we want to find the bottom three salaries from the table, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for that we can just say select distinct salary employee, and since we want bottom three, so we will sort it by descending or ascending order. Okay, so order by salary uh, ascending, then we will say limit 3. So yeah, I think this will work.
Mhm. But will it work in Oracle?
In Oracle, no, I think this limit does not work in Oracle. So we will have to write it differently. So for Oracle, so we can still use this, and we can just use row number, I think. So we can use this. Now we have all the rows with ascending order. Then we can say select salary from then this, so we will have all that where we can use row number less than equal to 3. So yeah, I think this will work.
Okay, okay.
Good.